The powwow ceremony has always been a pan-Indian gathering of communities where knowledge and magic is shared. Let's join the Thundering Moccasins at the Miccosukee Indian Village and discover what makes the grass dance, the fancy dance, and the Fancy Shawl Dance so unique.
We're Thunder Moccasins. We designed the group to be able to spread the word of good medicine through dancing, through singing, and sharing cultures. We're happy to be here on this land, learning about the Everglades and teaching everybody a little bit about wherever we come from. We've all been doing this style of dance since we've been little. We've grown up with it, and through that time we've learned the ways of how it come about, whether it's the stories or different places that we travel. And that's one of the reasons we like to travel here to Miccosukee. We learn about other tribes and some of the stories that come along with the land wherever we are.
It has so many variations of the stories as it's been told. All these dances that we do, the stories may be different among different tribes, but all in essence, a lot of it is pretty much the same and comes together.
The way that you're taught is, like most of the dances that we do here, you grow up doing it. You grow up doing powwows. It's something that you have to be brought into. You just can't, pick it up right off the bat and start to do it. You have to grow into it. When you're his age, this is why these little kids dance like this. So when they're older, they grow as a dancer and as a singer too. I first started singing when I was about 10, and I started singing with a drum group. I asked them to let me, if I could sing with them, sit down and sing with them, and they're not going to turn you down. They never turn you down because they want you to learn how to sing. They want you to carry on your traditions like that.
There's different styles. Traditional, we kind of compare that to more of our ceremonial style dances that we do back home. So these are all our contemporary style or more fancy. Fancy dance, this is one of the newer styles that come about in the last 110 years, but like you said, it originated with the older dances from long ago, the real traditional, the more ceremonial, and those kind of were the social dances back then. Nowadays we don't really perform those in the public, and we don't use them for show. So as time went along and settlers came over, there was more needs for different dances that you could show, and you could show as a show like this, or Indians were often trying to make money to feed their family and different things like that. Mason here and Otter, they're both in the grass dance style of regalia. Their tribes were in the prairie grass, and the prairie grass would be as tall as their heads. And they weren't called grass dancers or anything like that back then. They were just men that would go out and they would prepare the land for the ceremony that was going on, however big it might need to be. So there would be sometimes only 10, sometimes there would be 50. And they would go out and they would start laying the grass down with their feet. And they started singing different songs as they was going out, and they'd lay it down. So they started dancing, they'd grab that grass in honor of that grass, and then they would stick it into their belts, they would hold it, they would move around, and then they started moving to the beat and swaying like the grass, the prairie grass in the wind, and they would get that ceremony ready for all the people to come.
Well, I'm a fancy shawl dancer, and the way this originated was through, if you may or may not know, is that the Native American tribes, most of them, not all of them, are more male dominant. So when they had their social dances or their celebrations, women generally weren't allowed into the arena. They weren't allowed into the circle. So the older style of dancing was the women had to stay on the outside of the arena and just dance dance on the outside of the arena while the men were in the inside. So we were basically just kind of spectators watching the men dance. So then as time went on, and women always wanted to dance. They always wanted to dance and be in the arena. So later on, women started coming out into the arena and dancing more and more, and they started picking up their feet more and dancing a little bit faster and more colors and everything. So these two women were they were dancing against each other, competing against each other, just a fun type competing, and they were trying to be better than the other. So they started doing fancier moves to try to be better than the other one. So that's the origination of Fancy Shawl Dancing is they just trying to be better than the other woman, and so they started. One lady grabbed her shawl, which she carried on her arm, and put it over her shoulders and started trying to do fancier moves and everything. So that's how Fancy Shawl came, and from there on, all the women just started coming out and thought it was a beautiful style of dancing to be more fancy and to dance faster and put more steps into the moves.